there's a lot of hand wringing right now about the messaging. And I know you're someone who's been so on this, like, we need a broad message kind of tip. And in messaging is very important. And of course, you've got centrist Democrats blaming Green New Deal, Medicare for all, defund the police, as if defund the police were like an actual, 10-point plan. I wish it was. I hope it will be soon. But, there's like things like the Breathe Act and there's another act that's like, anyway, there's other acts that are like actually being floated. What are your thoughts and how would you push back on that? Do you think there is any validity to that extreme messaging? Did that alienate people?
So I feel like I often get right in the middle of this where I'm not happy with anyone's messaging. So I do think, first of all, I think the lesson for the left generally is that we always have to be connecting with people in language that they can hear and talking about policy not in these little like catchphrases, but translating what it means for their lives, right? Yeah. So as Anat Shenker says, like, sell the brownie, not the recipe. And we're constantly kind of like selling the recipe. Right. But, so I think that the phrases can help.
Tell me more about baking soda.
So like Medicare for all and Green New Deal, for example, right? Like it's not that we can't, I think that those are pretty good terms actually. Yeah. But we still have to, basically we're in a contest with our opponents where they're trying to constantly brand those things, negatively associate them with like extremism. So we have to be constantly associating them with things that people want, right? With what it's going to look like in their lives for people to have Medicare for all, right? For them to not have to worry when they lose their job about losing their health insurance or their health coverage, right? So we do have to do that work. And also in the labels that we use, like, I was just harping on a Jacobin headline today that was like AOC is fighting for the left. That's not a winning headline. No, most Americans don't give a damn about the left. Just say AOC is fighting for working people, America. Right? Yeah, America, for all of us, right? For the 99%. Those are all popular claims. Yeah, and they're right. So we need to be making those popular claims. And sometimes when we fall into that shorthand of like, oh, it's the progressive wing versus the establishment wing of the party, that makes it feel like political class jargon to most people. And so we've got to tell it like it is. Like, these are career operatives and politicians who have been abandoning the working class. And we need, working people deliver this win to Biden. We need Biden to deliver for working people, right? That's a message that the Lincoln Project, doesn't want to have that conversation. Third way Democrats don't want to have that conversation. They want to be talking about the left and what the left wants and its entitlement and its purity. They don't want to be talking about what working class people, Black, brown, and white, rural and urban, need in this moment of crisis. That's a conversation we always need to be having. Yeah. Last part.
No. I was just going to say, every time someone mentions the left, I'm always like, oh, but they said our name. That means we're real and we're not just a figment of our imagination. But you're totally right that, like, it is the things we're fighting for are supported by the majority of people. It's okay to be left. It's okay to be progressive. But yeah, when you're talking about issues, always reframing it as the concrete benefits. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, speaking for that majority, I mean, when I do messaging and organizing strategy workshops with different organizations, like we worked with Sunrise as they were forming. We've worked with some of the folks who went into Justice Democrats and worked with a lot of different organizations over the years. One of the biggest challenges that just kind of plagues our groups is we have to be telling a story of a big us that millions of Americans see themselves in. And we accidentally tell a story of a small us, of like activists, that feels like a clubhouse that's inaccessible to other people. So we always have to be recalibrating for that big us. But I want to stick it to the Democratic Party for a second, because they're doing a far worse job on messaging, right? And, everybody talks about Democrats have a quote unquote messaging problem. George Lakoff's written great stuff on this. Drew Weston's written great stuff on this. Part of it I really agree with, right? I've learned a lot from them where it's like they're rational thinkers, they make rational arguments, and Republicans are more authoritarian and go more with the gut. There's points to be made there. But the fundamental problem of the Democratic Party and its quote unquote messaging problem is that it can't decide whether it is trying to communicate and appeal to its traditional multiracial working class base, which is its historical strength, or if it's messaging for the donor class and corporate interests in Wall Street. And there is no message that works for both of those, right? It's paralysis in deciding who it's messaging for is its quote unquote messaging problem. It's not just like it's inherently bad at spin. Well, that and like literally these are careerists who are totally insulated within the top 10% of the economic spectrum, which has become totally cut off from the bottom 80 to 90%. So it is also like people who are profoundly out of touch with the experiences and the hardships of working class people. There's that too.
And people who were like, you know, have been doing the same job for, 20 years and were like, well, this worked when we tried to elect Zell Miller or whatever. Like,
who? and that I am too.
What you just said, too, is like, I think so much more makes sense in the Democratic Party when you realize that there's a lot of people who would rather maintain their jobs and their status in a party that loses than lose their jobs or their status in a party that wins.
Oh God, dude, that was like, I felt like you punched me in the stomach.
Yeah.
Wow, that was like, ooh, that's some fire right there. They'd rather maintain their status in a party that loses. Absolutely.
John, and then that's also true of show business.